What advice do you have for someone who's considering writing a novel?
Well, probably don't. But no, I do get asked a lot of questions by wannabe writers, along the lines of how do I start and things. You know, you always hear people say, well, write what you know about. Up to a point, that's true, but you know, okay, I'm, well, you know, late 50s now, but I don't actually remember anybody from the Roman period or the Saxon period. Not, despite my daughter, when she was younger, saying that. Did you know any cavemen, mummy? Yeah. Research your subject. If it's going to be history or science fiction or even romance, come to that. And then put into it what you do know about the emotions, how people are, anything that you remember from your own memories, incidents, anecdotes, those sort of things. It's that brings a novel alive. The other thing as well is writing is harder than you think.
Yeah.
Anyone can tell a story. Anyone can write a story down. You can't necessarily write a book that's readable. There is tricks of the trade. There are ways of doing it, because you've got to make it that when that person starts reading, that you've got to hook them into it. The other thing I do always say to writers is, yeah, get it down, get the idea from here onto paper or onto your computer. That's the easy bit. You've then got to edit, and it is the editing that is the difference between a good book and a bad book. And I don't just mean punctuation, grammar and spelling. That's fairly easy to check. It's that, have you got the continuity right? Yeah. And not just if you've got a character with blue eyes at the beginning of the book, you've still got blue eyes at the end of it. It's continuity of scenes. If you've got one scene that's nighttime, make sure that the next scene's nighttime, or mention that, you know, the sun's come up. Make sure that you've got the continuity of how your characters behave. You can't have your character behaving, it's you know, all nice and sweet and charming gentleman at the beginning of the story, and then actually turns out to be a utter bastard at the end of it, unless that is obviously the way you're writing it, you know, for your authors, your readers to find out how this character develops. But it's all really about continuity and believability. That's the other thing. If you want to write, don't talk about it, do it. They always say actually the hardest bit about writing is putting your backside on the chair.
Yeah. Do you, how do you do it? Did you start off just not a problem, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, I'll do it? Or did you find it difficult to make yourself sit down for 3 hours and just write?
It really depends on what I'm writing.
Yeah.
There are some of my books that I have just sat and written. Other books it's been a struggle to get going. Shadow of the King, which is the third one in the Pendragon's Banner series, that was really hard to write because well, I didn't want to finish the series. And I also knew that I had to kill Arthur off. I mean, you all know that Arthur dies at the end of it. And by this time, I have to say, I mean, the Pendragon's Banner trilogy, that took me 10 years to write. Not continuous writing.
Yeah.
I think I had a break of about 6 months when I didn't write anything at all. But by the time I'd got to writing Shadow, I had already been accepted and Kingmaking had been published. So it was also a case of, oh, I've been paid for this, I've got to do it, you know, otherwise I've got to give the money back. It was like ending a relationship. I mean, Arthur to me, my characters are real. They're not just made up. And I really sort of felt, oh, I'm planning an assassination, or, you know, I've got to tell this guy that I don't want to be with him anymore. How do I do this? In the end, with Shadow, I wrote the last chapter first.
Oh, okay.
So I
got
killed
it
him
over and
off.
done with.
And then went back to start again, so it's almost, I brought him to life again.
Yeah.
So that worked. I sort of try to do so much writing every day, but I'm also a mum, and there's also other things to do, and it doesn't always work out like that.
No.
I tend to, I suppose, I get up in the morning, I do my emails, Facebook, Twitter, then go off and do some housework, you know, the boring bits. then I try to write of an afternoon and evening.
Mm.
Especially I do write at night.
Yeah.
Because it's quieter.
Yeah.
And I've got this theory that when everybody else is in bed, there's more imagination to go round.
Nice one. Steal their imagination.
Yes.
Use that. Oh, that's brilliant.
All the vibes in.
Yeah. So what do you think about what do you think about self-publishing? Do you think it's just vanity?
Some of it can be. But the nice thing I think about self-publishing now is that it gives everybody an opportunity to produce a book if they want to. It's one of these sad things. I think the mainstream publishing houses now, they used to take a chance on a darn good read. Nowadays it seems that they only want bestsellers. But not, you know, not every book's going to be a bestseller.
No.
The darn good read has almost gone out of fashion.
Mm.
The opportunities for wannabe writers are just not there now. But it has been replaced by self-publish. And I basically say, well, go for it if you've got a good idea. But, as I was saying earlier about the editing, you must make sure that it's well edited. You've got to make sure that it's well produced. Otherwise your book is going to be not very good.
Mm.
It's really a case of, if you want to go self-publish, get a professional editor.
Yeah.
Don't just ask Auntie Ruby down the road. Yeah, she's going to say, oh, it's wonderful. And your friends are going to say it's wonderful, because relatives and friends very rarely will be honest.
Yeah.
So it really is, if you're going to go self-publishing, do it professionally, get a professional editor to go through it and check it and check it and check it. The other thing I usually advise to people is, if you've written a book, fine, put it away for 6 months, then get it out and then read it again, because you will then spot the errors. If you want to self-publish, go for it, but be careful, because there are some cowboy companies out there. You can be ripped off.
Yeah.
But there are also very good companies. Contact the authors of the who are already with the company, see what they think of the company, and take it from the point of view of, this is an enjoyable hobby. Very, very few authors make money out of writing, unless you're J.K. Rowling or those sort of level. Most authors, it's pocket money.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do this darn silly job. You know, it's certainly not for the money. It's for the love of it. Yeah, treat it as a hobby, and be realistic. It's highly unlikely that you're going to sell thousands. Well, you know, even if you're mainstream, to be honest, not even just self-published. Enjoy yourself. Then you're not going to be disappointed.